Um, I'm not sure who's speaking, but we have two speakers today, and whichever order you guys want to go in.
Thank you. Hey everybody, I'm Rob. I'm an addict. Hey, Rob. Grateful to be here. Grateful to be anywhere clean today. And yeah, I am nervous, so bear with me here. But I'm home, so that makes it a little easier. I was supposed to speak this morning, but communication, which I'm not good with anyway, I'm here now. So that was one on keeping it simple, which I was kind of primed to do because that's where I'm at in my life today. But our message is hope is the topic for this workshop. So let me talk a little bit about that. My clean date's December 8th, 2006. My home group's Gray Street Recovery in Highland, Indiana. We meet on Thursday nights at 7 o'clock. I tell you that because I believe it's very important to have a home group to work steps. I got a NA sponsor who has an NA sponsor. We work steps. We study the literature, and that's something that, I found that when I don't do those things, I can be as sick as the day is long, and even without putting any mood or mind-altering drugs in my system, because I can find anything to use. I come from a household where all boys, and it was a man-up situation. It was don't cry, I give you something to cry about. So for me to get up here and share about my feelings or emotions is hope in itself, I would think. So, where I'm at today, and that's pretty much where I'm going to keep it at, is, a lot of trying times, whether it be financially, whether it be spiritually, whether it be my work schedule not cooperating with my meeting attendance. There's some things going on that, wants to assist my disease in separating me from you guys. But my experience also shows that when I separate myself from you guys, that's when I start thinking. And I got a thinking disease. I don't know about anybody else, but, my disease wants to tell me that I don't have a disease. So when I get in that spot, I will try to refrain from using foul language, but I want to MF you guys and tell you guys you don't know shit, and that I'm better than, and that I've already read the text 100 times, I've already worked through the steps, so I pretty much don't need to be here. And that takes me to a dark place where it affects my everyday life with my family, with my friends, with my coworkers. So there was, I've had several stages, and just as my recovery has evolved, I think hope has evolved with me as well. And the message of hope that I was given when I first got here still holds true today, but that's evolved as well, When I first got here, I just didn't want to get high anymore, man. I didn't want to die, because that's what was going to happen. And the more I came back, the more I realized that it wasn't necessarily about just not getting high anymore, because I had put down the dope for so long at that point that it was a matter of I was still sick, and the best advice I was ever given in this fellowship when I was in that place clean was to try something different, and when I saw this cat who told me that and how he conducted himself and how he acted, that was a hope shot in itself, man. And I've been told it by several people, try something different, maybe you need to do this, and I'm all for an outside healthy perspective, but, that was definitely, that day was some good advice that was given. So, if you find yourself in a spot, and I'm not trying to give any advice because, I'm not here to give advice. This is my program. I'll speak for myself, but, when I open myself up to something different is when I found some relief. And by all means, I'm not cured. I need to continuously work at this because even with a few black key tags, I'm not immune to being downright stupid and thinking that, again, that word, thinking that my way is the best way, that my ideas are the only ideas that work. And that's again me assisting my disease and cutting me off from you guys, cutting me off from my God, which I truly believe is the reason that I pulled in that church parking lot like 7 hours prior to that meeting one day back when, and I didn't leave. So I'm here, and that's a hope shot in itself, I believe, because again, I come from a place that arrogance and ego and pride, those qualified you to live in my household. If you didn't have those, you weren't part of. And then I come to a place that I don't need those to be part of, and I can replace those things with some principles, and I can get with some love and forgiveness and some faith that if I do some things that are suggested here, that I can stay clean too. Just recently, I got a job I'm not too happy with. Pay I'm never happy with, because I want to think material things are what's going to make me happy. I've had a couple injuries that have caused me to have some surgeries, and I found out ibuprofen works pretty good, and I don't need any dope, man. And I'm not. And again, that's my story, and I'm not a doctor. I need to clarify that. But that was another message of hope that I received from another addict that went through surgeries. That one thing for me that works is I'm all about that $10 book I bought. The basic text has saved my life on numerous occasions, but that interpretation of that basic text can vary from person to person. So many different angles, so many different shots, so many different perspectives. So I need to get with as many experienced addicts as I possibly can and be open to an outside healthy perspective, and then to find out what way works for me. Because if you say, if I got one person that my first sponsor used to say, if you got one person that tells you got a tail, whatever, you might have a tail. But if you got 6 or 7 people that tell you got a tail, you might want to turn around and look. And some of the things that I've been told in this fellowship, it's like, it sounds kind of quirky, sounds kind of, funny, but they hold true. We want to get, I want to get in a spot where that's so cliche-ish. But man, talk about cliches that work. I mean, the workshop that I was supposed to work today, keep it simple. This one, our message is hope. There's so many different one-liners that I can live by. But I truly believe it's the message of hope that I received here when I first got here, and was angry and would spout out at meetings and would use profanity every other word, and tell you guys you're all full of shit. But you guys would look at me and laugh and chuckle and give me a sarcastic, keep coming back. I didn't know it was sarcastic at the time. I figured that out later on, and then I had a resentment towards you guys and I had to write about it. But, at the time it was like, keep coming back. Me? Keep coming back? You don't know me. I'll steal your wallet and help you look for it. You don't want me here. So for somebody to tell me to come back, it was like, I lived for so long for people to tell me, get out. Don't ever come back. Ever. And for that to happen, and then for a complete stranger to tell me they love me, we didn't use that word in my household. I mean, my mom loved us, but, house full of boys again. And it was, I still, today it's a struggle, because I'll grab my older brother and tell him I love him. And you could just see, he's squirming, he's all uncomfortable. I'm like, come here, and it's like, hugs and the word love, it just, it wasn't used often. So, it was, it's a different way of life. It was foreign, but it's beautiful, and I love it. There's other things that have been going on in my life over the course of the past few years. I know yesterday, during the little speaker jam workshop kind of deal we had going on, a couple people spoke of my first sponsor, who's no longer here, Matt B. And there was another cat that was my lifelong best friend that was a big part of this place as well for a few years, Scotty R. And they're both no longer with us. One thought, because one more was a good idea. The other one thought that after 10 years clean, that he just didn't want to use, but he needed a way out, so he took his own life. So those are a couple things that have happened to me, and broke me down, man. And I didn't get high over it. I didn't get high over it. I mean, that's hope right there, because shit happens in life, I've come to realize, and I got no control over that, man. I'm powerless. And when I can get with that, and I can get with some acceptance of being powerless over that, and I can ask for help, which is completely foreign to me, and then receive it, man, that's hope. That's something that I get and I draw from in this fellowship, man. So even again, with some time, I found myself in meetings every day, calling my sponsor every day, 2-3 times a day, crying my eyes out, not even letting him talk, just having him listen to me cry, you know. And that got me through it, man, because I'm part of that club, man, that no matter what club. That I'm not getting high, man, and that's it. So I'll feel the pain, I'll process it, I'll move on. You know, I like the advice that I was given a long time ago, that I pray about it, I write about it, and I share about it. You know, and when I can get with those 3 things, and I find that relieves me, that's hope in itself as well, man. So our message is hope. You're damn right it is. That no addict needs to get high anymore, man. We don't need to die. That lie's been dead a long time ago. You know, so I'm grateful to North Central area, the We Grow With Love subcommittee, Narcotics Anonymous, Camp Alexander Mac. If you see the people who work here at the camp itself, please hug them as well, man. Tell them what's up. They love us, and they'll tell us they love us, and we love them back. So if I can stress taking care of the camp and respecting that as well, I'd like to stress that too before I close here. So, you know, didn't really know what to say, but I said it, and that's all I got. Thanks.
I'm Ray, I'm an addict. Thank you for being here. I mean, the last about 4 months of my recovery, I come to realize through my higher power, whom I call God, it's like, you know, thank you, because I can't stay clean by Ray. You guys keep me clean, you know. And when I got here, February 5th, 1989, you know, and just got out of prison, came to a meeting, and a guy said, I want to give you a hug. And, you know, and their message was hope, you know, and what is hope? You know, I mean, I don't know what hope is. You know, the only thing hope I knew about was copying. You know, I hope the drug dealer's there, so when I get there, he has what I want. You know, that's the only hope I knew. I hope I can have sex with that girl over there because that's what I needed. You know, that's the only thing I knew. Anything I was taught wasn't right because that's what I was taught. I get here and they tell me, well, keep coming back. You're always welcome. And it, like you said, it's the first place I've ever been welcome. You know, they still haven't kicked me out yet. And they keep telling me to come back. You know, and I kept pondering on hope. What is hope? You know, and that's a broad subject. If you think about it, hope, you know, and then I started thinking about, well, what do you want to share about from your experience, strength, and hope? It's like, oh, hope is in there, you know. And to me today, hope means honesty, open-mindedness, powerless, and example. You know, I have to be honest, and to be honest today, it sucks. You know, honestly, how can people, you know, I have a hard time to tell somebody honestly how they're doing, and that's a bullshit lie because I'm blunt. If you're screwing up, I tell you you're screwing up. I can't sugarcoat it, you know, because that saved my butt. You know, you guys saved me by being honest to me, telling Ray, your actions are causing you this. You know, we see what you're doing is going to cause this. You know, and your honesty to me keeps me here and keeps me clean. It may make me mad. I might get resentful. But the honest part of it is I have to work my steps on it. You have no control over what I do. I have to be honest and work my steps. On everything I do and happens in my life, steps. Steps, steps, steps. You know, that's what my sponsor always told me. He said, the answers are in the steps. The hope is in the steps. And I got pissed. It's like, what the hell are you talking about? Steps. Yes, I'm powerless. Yes, my life is unmanageable. Yes, I have to find a higher power. Yes, yes, yes. You know, and I never got it. I faked it till you maked it, you know. But you guys kept telling me there's hope from active addiction, just follow our way. And I didn't know how to live, so I had to have hope that what you were doing was right, because I didn't know right from wrong. So I had to have hope that if I kept coming back, you would accept me for who I am, because I didn't know who I was. I never knew who I was. I was always somebody fictitious to fit in, you know. But today, like I say, the program has taught me to be honest, you know, and I try to be honest. I'm not always honest, because lies are comfortable. You know, it is. Lie is a comfort zone, because that's part of my disease, you know, of still wanting to fit in, you know. In the last year, I've had to have so much hope because my life has fell apart. And but the positive of, I try to look at positive everything, you know. And in the last year, you know, I went from having a home, having a wife, having kids, having all that materialistic junk. I thought I had to work and buy all this junk. I got away from meetings. My sponsor died a long time ago. I found another one. I keep trying to find the perfect sponsor to replace my sponsor of 18 years. And that's hard. But the hope is there's somebody out there that I'll click with again, because you build a relationship. You know, but like I was saying, you know, I mean, I lost my home in a process of divorce from hell. But it got me back to meetings, not for the right reason. You know, I had to be honest. I said, well, okay, my wife don't love me no more. She doesn't want me. I got 20 years clean. I'll just go to a meeting and pick up a newcomer and get what I want. I mean, that's honest, right? I mean, I could bullshit them and tell them, look, you know, look, follow me. I'm a guru. I stayed clean this long. Bullshit, you know. I'm an addict. I have addictive behavior. You know, and then the honest part of that was when I went to a meeting, it was all women, it was the newcomers. I'm like, oh, shoot. You know, and then I started thinking, you know, that addict that I don't like that does this, do I want to be that person? You know, do I want to act out that way? Do I want to portray my recovery as a user? You know, because I use everything. You know, and what does that do? That doesn't give that newcomer hope. It pushes them out the door. They get resentful. They hate our program. And I'm talking for me. I'm not talking about anybody else sitting here. You know, this is what I felt. This is what I did. You know, this is my program. If you can relate, that's great. You know, but this is what I have done. You know, this is what I have thought. You know, and that's why I tell my sponsees, this is what I've done. I cannot keep you clean. When you get sick and tired of being sick and tired, we can talk about it. I don't have time to chase your ass. You know, nobody chased me. They said, if I want this program, I got to put into this program. Nobody keeps me clean but me. My sponsor guided me. That's what he's for, is a guide. He's not a babysitter. You know, and that's the honest thing. You know, then open-mindedness is, when I got here, I was prejudiced, didn't like people that liked the same sex. You know, I had all these stereotypes in here that were bred from being a kid. My family taught me to be that way. You know, and I had to be open-minded. You guys taught me how to be open-minded by, I was sharing to a guy the other day, this guy came up to me and he liked guys and he was in that thing and he said, can you be my sponsor? And I looked at him and said, oh, shit. You know, I don't have no patience for this, but God, you know what? This program taught me never to say no. So I said, okay, I will sponsor you. You know what? And that opened my eyes. You know what? He has the disease of addiction. It doesn't matter what he chose to do with his life. I'm there to help him get through the disease of addiction. You know, but my higher power, whom I call God, opened my mind and my eyes to that. The same way with women. The only thing I thought about women was one thing. And I went to a meeting, this lady shared, and I'm like, oh, they're like I am. You know, it's just they have a different physical body. You know, and that's the open-mindedness they've taught me, is be open-minded. Don't jump to conclusions. You know, just think about it. You know, that's what I say with hope. It's open-mindedness, you know. And I'm still trying to be open-minded on certain things, you know. And then the powerlessness is I'm powerless over everything. If I hit that light switch, I have to hope the light comes on. I have no power if I hit that switch and the light don't come on. You know, I'm powerless if I turn the key in my car, the car starts. You know, I mean, powerlessness is everything, you know. And those, you know, being honest, open-minded, and powerless keeps me clean today. I got to get back to the basics. You know, and that's what recovery is basics. Keep it simple, like they said in the last workshop. Come to things like this to be around us, not you, us, because we all have this disease. And we all help each other. It's a whole. It's like, I look at things like what we call anonymical or whatever, like it's a pie, you know. That person may have the sugar, that may have the eggs, that may have the flour. But I need all that to have a complete pie. If I don't have all the ingredients, you know, the pie ain't gonna be no good. You know, but I'm powerless over what that person brings, but I hope they bring something I need. That makes sense. You know what I mean? And then example, you know, lead by example. You know, that was the E of hope. You know, being an example. So how big an example would I have been coming to meetings, picking up newcomers, and doing what I hated other people did? That's not a good example. The example is coming and sharing, being there before the meeting, being there after the meeting. Don't talk on my cell phone, leave it in the car, and listen. Honestly, deep level listening. Because I had newcomers say, "What are you doing over there sleeping?" I said, "No, my sponsor told me a long time ago when I'm having a problem, close your eyes and listen." Because that way I'm not judging. Because there's people I don't like in recovery, I'm going to be honest. But I love them for the recovery. I don't like them, but I love them for the recovery. They have a message and I can pick stuff out. But I have to close my eyes so I don't visually see that person and I can hear. And I'm deaf. Believe it or not, I don't have my hearing aids and I'm deaf. And it's tone deaf, and it's women and children. God, isn't it that wonderful thing for a man to have, tone deaf for women and children? And my wife didn't believe me for a lot of years, you know. But I want to be a prime example of what recovery can do and what legacy can I leave behind when I'm not here. Because I'm not going to be here one day. But what can I leave behind that's positive, honest, open-minded, and powerless? You know, for the next person, like another addict we're sharing, right before I came here to share, you know, he said, "I remember you from 5 years ago, and your sponsor died, and my sponsor just died, and you helped me get through this." That's the program. I didn't even know I did that. You know, I just shared honestly, open-minded, you know. And that's this program, you know. We all have to have a little bit of hope. I don't care if you're a newcomer and you don't know what the hell you're doing here, you're in the right place at the right time. That's what they told me. They said, "You never have to use again. Get a sponsor." I said, "What the hell's a sponsor? Is it a female over here?" They said, No. That we got to pick up a guy." I said, "Why do I want a guy, you know?" But he became my best friend, best man, and he guided me in my recovery. I fired him, hired him, fired him, hired him, fired him, hired him. But he had hope that I would make it, you know, and he guided me. And things he taught me, I relayed to other people, you know. But it's a simple program, like they said earlier. You have to have simplicity, hope, and the desire. That's what I really think the basis for my program are, you know, simplicity, hope, and desire. Because I'm not here because I want to be here. I'll be honest with you. Sometimes I hate coming to this stuff because it's like, I have to admit I have this disease. And out there, they don't accept this disease. I hate to say that. I mean, I have the best job in the world my higher power gave me after I got on my own. I make the less money I've ever made in my life, but I'm happy. I was like, come on, God, why can I be happy making money I've never made this less? But then he reveals to me I'm working a program again. I have hope that I can make it through the day without using. I have you. You are what make my program. I don't make my program. I could go to a meeting and sit and tell all the lies and bullshit I want, but who's going to be there? Everybody that wants to lie and hear my lies and bull. But thank you for being here, and you give me my hope and experience and strength. Thank you.
Thank you both. I guess the floor is now open. If anybody wants to share? If not,
Hey family, I'm an addict seeking recovery. My name is Philip W.
Hey, Philip.
Wow, I was here 5 years ago, and I did meet Ray, and my sponsor at the time had just made his transition, and that was a hard hit for me, you know. But I listened to Ray share his story and how he was dealing with it, and it took me a while to get another sponsor. Today I have another sponsor, but also when I got back to Michigan, 4 months later, my wife made her transition, and those were the two closest people to me in my life, and having to deal with that reality, and then not get high about it, you know, to just stay focused. But that was a lot of pain. I have 2 daughters, raising 2 daughters, and that's been a journey for sure. Good Lord, if I knew that I would have had to go through anything that I had to go through with them, I don't know. But I didn't give up on them, and you know, we still work through stuff. We went through grief and loss, and we really need that, and they still go through it because they didn't know their grandmother, they didn't have no grandmother, and so it was just me, you know. They coming on their period, one was 9, the other one was 13, and they go to talking to me about period, like, wait a minute, hold on, go drink some cold water, or some warm water. I don't. But you know, and it was difficult for them to interact with other females. Period. You know, they have 2 older sisters that have children that, you know, they couldn't take time with them, and it just that was a real. I mean, it's been 5 years later, and they getting better now, but most of the time I don't know when it is that they getting better. You know, but we just keep going through and being clean, and you know, I listen to the struggles that we have, you know, in this economical times, and we do have some, and since then I've gotten remarried. My wife is here somewhere, and we just had you know, we only been married coming up on our year, and it took me 4 years to really. We dated for a year, and then, but you know, and she's in recovery, and it's just a wonderful thing to be able to come here to Camp Mac, man. We Grow with Love is an awesome place for me. You know, we just had a little gratitude circle down by the tree, and it was really wonderful, man. This place is awesome. Sitting at the campfire. I remember when we first came here, we started the fire that 5 years ago, and the fire is the fire, and you know, it's nothing like the fire. And it's a couple of guys I did remember, because when I saw Ray walking, I wasn't sure that he was the one that I had talked to, but I asked him, and that was me. You know, it was good to know that people are still here in the practice of this recovery, because my clean date is September 1989, you know, and that's a long journey for an addict like me, because at the end of my using, I was a flow crawling crack addict, you know, and it's hard to get up when you've been crawling for so long, looking down, and then you finally get up. And I remember I had 6 months clean. I looked up and I saw the sky for the first time, and that was an awesome experience, man, to be living so low, to start looking up higher, knowing that it was a power greater than that could bring me up and keep me up. You know, I don't have to look down ever again. I choose not to. Drugs and the disease of addiction, the personality and the lifestyle just destroyed me as a person, you know, and getting back on track and reestablishing a reality, coming through fantasies, man. I mean, you know, just all this gonna happen. A millionaire today, a bum tomorrow, you know, just all that illusion stuff about not doing anything with life except, you know, just being there, but not accepting it on its own terms. Today, to accept life on his own terms unconditionally. You know, that's a big step. When I look at other addicts, you know, I'm judging addicts, man, look, who am I to judge anybody? If you here and you admit that you are an addict, I know you got problems. You don't have to think I'm gonna come at you with anything other than saying, okay, you welcome, just like I am. You know, and if you knew, give yourself a break. For real, this program works. This is the biggest organization. Share this now. Close. You know, Narcotics Anonymous to me is the most powerful organization on the planet. And I say that because, you know, we carry an anonymous title and we don't never know who we are connected to because this organization is so big, man. And I'm just grateful that I'm a part of it, you know, that I'm a responsible member of society and in the fellowship of Narcotics Anonymous, practicing the program. You know, the steps are the solution, for real. Though. If you don't think that the honesty, the open-mindedness, and the willingness is what's going to make you a better person, just start practicing the honesty, the open-mindedness, and the willingness and see the difference, because it makes a difference. That those three principles alone, being honest with myself, being open-minded to others, and the willingness to do something different, like what I heard Ray say, you know, that change part. So I'm real grateful for Narcotics Anonymous. I'm grateful for the convention that's here. I'm an addict seeking recovery. My name is Philip W. I'm going to keep coming back, and I'm going to come back clean. Thanks for letting me share.
Hi family, I'm an addict called Stacy. I'm grateful to be here, and I want you all to know I love you. That's the beginning. I tell all my sponsees, I love you until you love yourself, and then when you love yourself, I'll love you again. You know, through my wonderful time here with Narcotics Anonymous, I've went through some struggles. You know, here in the past year, I've went through my brother's death. My dad and my brother both died being addicts. They died using. In my recovery, I've been clean. You know, and in the last year, it's like, you know, fuck it, I'm just gonna go out and use. You know, and people walk up to me and they're like, Stacy, you've come so far. You know, life on life's terms sucks. But no matter if I use, it ain't getting any better. It's just procrastinating the feelings, you know. And one thing that I learned in NA is not to procrastinate today. You know, do what you can. You know, somebody says work that step one, get in and work it. You may work it today and get back to it next Saturday, but you know, work it. Find a way to get yourself not to procrastinate. You know, if you work the steps, the book tells us anybody who works the steps will not die an addict. You know, it's not word for word, but it's in there somewhere that if you work the steps and work the program, you know, you will never have to use again. You know, and that's the hope that I got. I was sick and tired of being sick and tired many a times. I found the program in 97. My clean date isn't till 04. You know, so I played the program a lot. I went in and out, in and out. You know, today the message is hope that you stay. You know, get it the first time. You know, here lately I've been really strong with, damn it, reach out. You know, some of these people, you know, like Ray with his 20-something years, he didn't have a phone on him all the time. You know, he had to go home or he had to go to a payphone to call somebody. I can be driving down the road and think about using. And that's where I think about it most, because I used to my car the most. And I can call somebody right then. They can get me out of it. They can walk me through it. You know, We have people nowadays in this big congregation, unity, whatever you want to call it, anywhere around the United States that are here ready to help us. You know? But I don't know you need help until you reach out to me. You know? And I learned that here in the last year. You know, people have found out my brother died. I'm telling you, there was probably 15 addicts there, and I didn't have time for them, but they were there to catch me when I fall. You know, that's true unconditional love, to know that I have that much support. You know, the more you reach out, the more support you have, you know, and the stronger you can get. The message really is hope, that any addict can lose the desire to use and find a new way to live. I am definitely proof of that. Because if you did something in your addiction, I probably did it more. Because I did a lot. I'm one sick mother. But, you know, today, you know, I can say that, you know, my clean day is an 04. I'm fixing to do 8 years, you know, 8 years of recovery. Wow. That's amazing, because I could tell you I started using when I was 9, you know, and as working the steps, I found out that, you know, when I was an infant, I was fed Valiums. So, you know, I was destined to be an addict, but now I'm in recovery, you know. And as long as I reach out, you're all there to pick me up, hold me, love me, you know. Reaching out is the best thing, you know, and our message is hope. That's all I got.